Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about data engineers. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, "Hi Frederick, can you make a video about about what you think about data engineers, their role, and this as a career path? Thanks." Well, I work with just one data engineer, and I can tell you that being a business insights an analyst or a data engineer, the term is a little bit loose for me because data engineer or business analyst or things like that, it's a little bit of a gray zone exactly for me at the very least which term is correct to use here. But the essence of this role, at least based on my experience, is that it's a person that is, I would say, probably the one of, at the very least, most useful hybrids between a salesperson or a business person and a technical person. It's one of my favorite mixes. The other one would have been a QA with coding skills. A pure QA is practically, well, in many cases not all that useful to a lot of companies. Actually, it's very, in my experience, it's actually very destructive to have a pure QA who doesn't have any technical skills. But if you have a test automation QA or someone who actually knows how to do that, that's extremely powerful, just as this is. If you have a data engineer in your team who does actually possess they have to have a very balanced profile. This is probably one of the most useful things that you can have for growing your company. So the way that we work with data engineers is, because there's many ways of doing this, like their focus is for us business development. Their job is to look at the data that our system produces, like look at how our users are behaving in the system, talk to our different customers, and figuring out what their stakes are. They do a lot of business cases for different new features that we want to develop, and they gather information and data on these features and do the prep work. Have a lot of discussions with the PO and the designers, and they are very much involved in figuring out how to optimize conversion rates and what should be the next bet and all of this good stuff, right? And what's also very interesting is that they also help out with pricing models, which is extremely powerful, where they take a look at, all right, as I was saying, conversion rate. But it's not just about conversion now, is it? It's also about price tweaking, and that is a very powerful thing because you can get vastly different results, or you can actually lower your prices and still maintain the same conversion. You can raise your prices, or keep them at a certain level, and it doesn't really affect the conversion rate all that much, but your income actually goes up. And we have so many of these powerful, very useful insights that come from working with data engineers. Based on this, I mean, for one of our customers, we could increase their pricing model for their products. Actually, they could actually charge more money. That's all. They actually figured out that they could just immediately bump their price up, and it didn't change the amount of orders at all. And so now they're actually just making more money. And all it took was one single person to take a look at this and actually to look into the conversion rates, or the data that we are gathering on our user flows through the different purchase flows that we have. Now, if you're going to be a data engineer, a business analyst, or business insights type of person, you will I think that the things that are going to be most beneficial to you is that you have a fairly heavy profile or a background in statistics. That's very important. You're also going to have a look, have a background in business development. In other words, you need to understand customers, you need to understand business requirements and sales and things of this nature. And this is a very, very nice to have, but it's not critical necessarily. And you should ideally have coding. If you want to have the trifecta, this is the perfect thing. If you can, you can usually find someone who is fairly good with statistics and with sales, but it's practically impossible to find someone who can do the coding as well, because that's the limiting factor. You should be aware of that this is for a lot of companies a luxury role, or it's a supporting role, if that makes sense. It's the sort of person that you hire in order to enhance other teams. The problem with being an enhancing role within any company, and this is, you can take this to the bank, this is my personal original saying. I argue to you here and now that if you want to check how much your company cares about their employees, look at how much budget they spend on the support staff within the company. And this is going to be things like business analysts, marketers, it's going to be like user relationship, or like customer support staff. If they never get any attention from the company says that they care, then they don't really care, because the hierarchy is always sales at the top, and either engineering or design, depending on a little bit on the structure. That's the top list. Everything underneath is secondary in comparison to this, because this is where the money is coming from. And so if you're a supporting role, you are fighting always for the engineers and the designers, because the engineers and the designers are always the limiting factor. You never have enough of them to do all the work, which means that you have to schedule stuff. So the more independent you can be as a data engineer or business analyst or something like that, the better, because if you can implement the script that actually processes the data, or you don't have to be a software developer, you just need to be able to get the metrics that you need in order to produce the reports that the company is looking for. If you can do that independently, you are never going to be blocked by a bunch of developers who have a backlog that is 10 years long and they never have time to work with you. And you don't have to always be in this situation where you have to lobby in order to get even a single developer for a little bit of capacity to do this little thing, because like the cycle for you to do anything meaningful with, unless it's like already in place, is really, really long if you can't do it yourself. Because unfortunately, as I said, unless the company cares about supporting roles, they're not going to give you the time, because they're always in delivery mode. You can take to the bank. You're always, unless you're in sales or engineering or something like that, you're always going to have to wait until the engineers and the designers and so forth have the time to help you. And if they're always swamped, which is usually the case, you're never going to get that help. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think that a business analyst or a data engineer and so forth is probably one of the most useful hybrid roles within any company. They're not as common as software engineers. Like, you're going to need much, like, it's like designers. In many ways it's like a designer, where you might have one or two designers to several teams, and you might have one or two business analysts or data engineers to an entire company. Their role is extremely powerful and extremely useful to develop your business, but it's not critical. The role is not critical. You can still sustain your business, and you can make money without these people, but they are a very powerful enhancement. So if you want to be successful in this space, you should ideally have a strong background in statistics, business development, and ideally coding. And the coding, it is optional, but I promise you it's going to make a big difference for how much value you can produce towards the company. Because remember, even if you are systematically being put in a situation where you never get any time from those damn developers because they're always doing something else, remember, you're a supporting role. So if you're in the wrong company, you might actually get fired. You might be really good at this stuff, but you need all of these numbers, you need all of this data that you're not getting, and you're never getting any capacity to implement stuff that's going to give you that data. So now you get fired because there's no quote-unquote value in keeping you in the company, and it's not your fault. It's just that the priorities of the company is what it is. And unless you want to be in a constant battle for attention with all the other support roles that is within a company, it's going to help you enormously if you can implement basic metrics and so forth by yourself. So that's a very good investment if you're going down this career path. I strongly suggest that you look at it. Have a great day.